Greetings, mathematicians. Today I am going to go over point slope form, and this will be an equation where we're going to do some substituting to be able to find the equation of a line. But first, here we go. All right, let me get this set up here. Okay, so I am assuming that you have this already cut out, and we will do that little part together. It's just a little foldable. So point slope, that's exactly what it says. We're going to have a given point, which will substitute the x1 and the y1, and then we will have a given slope. And slope, you remember, it will substitute in for the letter m. To review, so again, we're going to solve for y just like we did if an equation was in standard form. We solve for y to get it in slope-intercept form. So, but let's just review here. If it's in slope-intercept form, let's go ahead and graph it here. So remember, the first thing you do is plot the y-intercept, which we know if we would put 0 in for x, we have y equals 5. So we're going to plot 0, 5 first. Then the second thing, remember, that we do is we find the slope. And that slope is the coefficient in front of x. We have -4, and I'm going to put a 1 under it just to remind us that we still have to go to the right one. With it being negative, we're going to go down 4 and over 1. Just draw a line through it. Okay, so that's just a review. We want to eventually get these equations in slope-intercept form so we're able to graph them. Okay, flip it over here. It says write the equation of the line that has a slope of -4 and passes through the point to -3. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight the slope. I'm going to highlight the x1. I'm going to label it. And then this is going to be y1. So these are the values that we are going to substitute in the point slope. Okay, so point slope, that equation, it's on the front. Y minus y1 equals m, x times the quantity x minus x1. Okay, and we're going to substitute here. So y1, we are going to put in the value of -3. Okay, now remember that the equation is y minus y1. So we'll take care of that here in just a second. We're going to substitute in your slope, which is -4 from up above. Then it's x minus an x1. That value is 2. Okay, so step 1 is to substitute. Step 2 is going to be distribute. I'm going to distribute over on this side, on the right-hand side, distribute that -4. -4 times x is -4x. -4 times -2 is +8. Now over here, I'll take care of that. Subtracting a negative becomes a plus. Our third step is solve for y. So we almost have it by itself. We just have this constant, this plus 3. Let's do the inverse. We'll subtract 3. Y equals negative 4x. Negative 8 minus 3, or plus a negative 3. Either way you want to look at that will give us positive 5. Okay, we plot it. So our y-intercept would be 5. That's our b. Y equals mx plus b. We plot that b first, which is the y-intercept. Slope, we'll go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. Okay, now the last situation is where we are just given 2 points that would go through the line. Okay, so before we already had the slope and we had one given line. Okay, so that's the last situation. You can see that, given 2 points. Okay, so how do we solve that? Well, first we need to find the slope. Okay, that's going to be important that we calculate that slope correctly. Okay, so this is from last unit. Our equation for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label my given points. That first one, I'm just going to label x1, y1. The second point, x2, y2. And then I'm going to substitute in those values. y2 minus y1, I'm going to go 9 minus a negative 3. Okay, so remember the formula is to subtract. Sometimes we have to substitute in a negative. So then the denominator, x2 minus x1, negative 1 minus 2. Okay, so let's simplify that. Subtract a negative becomes plus. 9 plus 3 is 12. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So that's going to give us a slope of negative 4. Okay, and you can see down below, that's what we should have ended up getting. Okay, so we did. M equals negative 4. So I'm going to label this x1, y1. We have our slope. Remember, these are the 3 values that we are going to substitute in. Y minus a negative 3 equals your slope times the quantity x minus the x1, which is 2. Okay, so remember, kind of 3 steps here. Substitute, distribute, solve for y. So we have the substitution taken care of, distribute, bring down this. Sometimes we have to simplify it. Subtracting a negative becomes plus 3, and then solve for y. Plot it. We know the y-intercept is 5. This is now in slope-intercept. And we'll go down 4 and over 1. Now, the cool thing you should have noticed is we ended up graphing the same exact equation each time. Okay, so just a different situation where we were given the slope. Right here, it was already in slope-intercept. Here, we were given the slope and a point that was going through the line. And on this situation, we were given 2 points that were on the line. So we had to find the slope first and then go through everything to finally get that equation in slope-intercept. Okay, so go ahead, and glue that in your notes.